Understanding the structure is less important than understanding the value. If you can see the value and the opportunity of the learning that comes with each step, as you go through it, more becomes available.
What you've just shared is important. Well, dear listeners, hello again. We're back. International President Aletta, welcome to Toast Talks once again. It is
Thank you so much, Busi. My pleasure to be here with you.
Do you know, since we last spoke, having seen you in person, I am totally floored. You are much taller than I thought you were, for starters. You are as pleasant as I thought you were. And it was so delightful just to see you eyeball to eyeball at the convention. How did you find the convention, Aletta?
Oh, the convention was magical. I always describe it as going to a big family reunion, but every year that family gets bigger because I meet more people and I get so excited to see everybody and just to connect with them, hear their stories. It's just an amazing experience at the best of times. Of course, when you're being installed as the international president, it's even more special. So this will be one that I won't forget easily.
Love that. And let's go into that installation. Last time when we met, you were still international president-elect. I know there was a lot going on. You were excited about that. But we are now in office. Let us know what has changed for you from that time since we left to the actual installation.
What surprised me, Busi, was the emotional journey that went with it. Obviously, for the last few years, I've known this moment was coming, that after a set amount of time, you will become the international president. But as I got closer to that moment, I found that there was, well, how can I describe it? It's a combination of, the day you get married or the day you give birth to a child, you are surrounded by so much goodwill. So it was a combination of having this enormous amount of goodwill coming my way and people saying, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?" And then it was also a very unique opportunity. The PR team in the Southern African districts put together a special edition of the Leadership Excellence magazine for me. And they got people to write things about me. And that was almost like receiving my obituary while I'm still alive. It was just so heartfelt to hear from people how in some way I'd inspired them or touched them or interacted with them over the years. So that was all, swirling around. Then the moment comes. And of course, my biggest stress point was my inauguration speech, because I really wanted that to go well. And it was such a relief when that was over. And since then, I feel very settled. But the thing that I've noticed that has changed, we all wear these Toastmasters pins, and I've worn one for many, many years. But somehow it's different for me now, because now when I put this pin on, I say, I've got this privilege of this pin for a set amount of time. What am I going to do today to take advantage of today? Because I'm not going to have today again. So I'm very aware of the limited time I have in this role. And if that's by design. And by the end of it, I'll be happy to hand it on to the next person. But I want to give it my all and do my very best while I have the privilege of wearing that pin.
Wow. I absolutely enjoyed watching. That survey that they give after the convention to ask what did you enjoy the most? I was like, Inauguration Day. It was magical. Everything went so well. My favorite part, your speech, I absolutely loved. My favorite part was hearing from your kids
Yes.
That I thought was priceless, because when you hear from family members, and of course, seeing your husband there by your side, I was just like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be like. It really was so, I was surprised at how moving it was for me. You know, I was sitting there and I was at the edge of my seat all the way through, holding on to every word. And I am really excited for you for this year. When you talk of making every day count, this is one of those days. And I am glad that you chose to be with us again on Toast Talks. That's that special edition magazine that was done. I hear you. That was ingenious. Maud and her team did an amazing job. It came out so well. And even years after, you're going to be able to lift it up and say, it really happened.
Exactly.
Of the people that you meet, I would like to know, they hand over. I suddenly became very interested in leadership and how you actually get to these places. They hand over from past president, international president, to you. How was that for you? Did you glean certain things that you probably going to use as you move forward? This is me just wanting to know what happened in those leadership corridors of power.
I think the beautiful thing for me, Busi, is that because Toastmasters has this tradition of handing over the reins for a role and it's well embedded in us, there's no resistance. It is just, we know that we've got it for a year and then we pass it on, but we're very conscious of building a team. So the international president before me, Roddy Spear, she and I have worked closely for years now. And I love working with her. She's a clear communicator. She's a clear thinker, and she's exceptionally loyal. She always say to me, Aletta, I've got your back. And of course, I've always had her back. So it's like a seamless transition. And we want everybody in that role to thrive. So part of my role on the board is to make sure that everybody on that board thrives. All the region advisors that report to me, I want each of them to thrive. I want the district leaders to thrive. So we're constantly looking for ways to support one another and to bring out the best in one another. And I think that's an important thing, because yes, it's me in the role, but it's not about me. It's about the organization, and it's about what I can do while I'm here. But everything I'm doing is to build the organization. So one of the things that's kept me really busy since convention, I've said to the teams in Africa, this is a big deal for me personally to be the first person from Africa. So this year, I want to use that history-making moment to benefit the Toastmasters in Africa. So I've done so much PR that the team has managed to put together for me. And I'm actually making part of my DTM project to take that media exposure and to try and create that in all the African districts so that everybody benefits. It's not just about me, it's about what this means for the continent, for our Toastmasters in the continent. And of course, far further than that, I'm interacting with district directors and district teams across the globe because I want them to thrive. So if I can inspire them or motivate them or challenge them, that's what I want to do.
This is all magical. And I love your focus, because there is so much growth that is happening on the African continent. And it would really be great to see that nurtured and really propelled forward. When we're speaking of leadership, I've been a Toastmaster since 2021, and I'm still amazed at the number of things that I didn't know. When it came to voting for the regional directors, I was like, this is interesting, and this makes sense that everybody gets to vote, because Toastmasters is one organization. Even if we're voting for another district division, it was so interesting for me. And the thing that I like about what you're saying about Africa is, if we have more Toastmasters who understand not only the value of Toastmasters, but how things and systems work. This will benefit the continent as we move
Yes,
on. So I'm
it will. Yeah. And one of the things you would have heard in my inauguration speech, I spoke about possibility and how our belief in what's possible can change our outcomes.
Mhm.
And I believe so strongly in that concept that I asked World Headquarters to record that inauguration speech and send me a link. And then we emailed every single district in the world and said, I want to hear what's possible for your district. So that goes way beyond Africa. And the conversations I have with those district leaders is tell me what's possible and how can I support you? And that is what makes us unique. We are all there for the success of one another, for the success of the organization. And yes, I'm passionate about Africa, but I'm also passionate about every single corner of the world. But if this year I can use my voice, my energy, my whatever I've got and pour it into the success of the districts and the members and the clubs, then it's time well spent.
Awesome. One question I was asked to ask you, I went to my club and a few people said, oh, are you getting our second time? Please ask this question. After deliberating, the key question was, as you are in this role, you have so many things you want to do. What do you have on your heart for the youngsters? We all know that Africa has one of the youngest growing population. We would like them to anchor into Toastmasters. What are your plans? What are your thoughts regarding this future generation?
I love the young people in Toastmasters. I love the young leaders. And funny enough, in our faster growing regions, the average age is much younger than in the slower growing regions, which is really fascinating. This morning, I was interviewed by a campus radio station in South Africa, and they were saying to me, well, how can it benefit us? And I said, if you can get this learning as you are starting your career, you can leverage it for the rest of your career. So it's so important and it's a catalyst for opportunities. So if we can attract and look after those younger people, and they'll think differently to us, which is cool. And they will challenge us to do things differently, which is also cool. But they bring a voice in that we need to hear. So absolutely, we need more younger people. We need to actively go out and look for them and challenge them, because I know from my kids, they don't like phoning anybody. That's like nobody does that anymore, mom. Yeah, we text and we type, but with the result, they haven't got that skill. And we can, especially in our in-person clubs, help develop that skill of person-to-person communication and getting up the courage to phone somebody. So we can learn from them, they can learn from us, but we need them. Absolutely. They are the future of our organization.
I love the example that you gave about phoning. Who does that anymore? I'm like, we do, because you
Exactly.
can't text for a job interview. You're going to have to be there in person. So
Exactly. And one phone call is more effective than 50 messages. You can get stuff done really quickly.
so true. And you can be misunderstood at the drop of a hat over a text. But when you're
Exactly.
speaking, you get to hear the tone, you get to hear the heartbeat of the person speaking. So youngsters across the globe, not just Africa, this one is around the globe. I've got nephews and nieces this side of the world, and they need it too. So you are absolutely on point. When it comes to leadership, how can we get the members to understand the hierarchy of our leadership structure? Like I said, I'm not exactly short of senses, but there are things that I've been missing as I've been growing, and I have been in levels of leadership, but there's still gaps. How do you think those gaps can be closed? Who can step in to help people understand, other Toastmasters, understand how they can actually keep developing like I said, the regional director's race for me was one where I was like, goodness, there is a lot going here. And I can understand its importance. So how do you think we could, or how do other regions, other people get it right for people to understand exactly the structures of Toastmasters?
I think for me, understanding the structure is less important than understanding the value. So when you are in club leadership, all you know is club leadership, and that's your world. Then the minute you get maybe to VPE or president, suddenly the area comes into view, and then you learn about the area. And hopefully you have a good experience with your area director, and maybe you aspire to be an area director, and then you become an area director, and then suddenly you think, oh, there's a thing called a division director. So if you can see the value and the opportunity of the learning that comes with each step, as you go through it, more becomes available. In my case, I went from club leadership and I did some PR for my division. And then I was very brave and I put my name forward to do district public relations. And bless my district, they elected me. And then I was in this whole new world that I knew very little about. Then I had that learning curve and that wonderful exposure. Gosh, there's so much. And in that year, our international president, Pat Johnson, came to our district and I got to plan her itinerary and travel with her. So that blew my mind because up until that point, I didn't even really know there was an international president. So to me, as I say, it's not necessarily the structure, but as you get to certain levels, more will become relevant to you. But to the average club member who doesn't go outside their club, it's not that relevant. But as you become more curious, as you go up the ladder, it does become relevant. And then that's when you are ready for that information. But we don't want to overwhelm people about international presidents, international directors, region advisors, and they're sitting in the club and they're looking at you saying, please, can you get out more? This is just too much.
Wow, that is wisdom. I absolutely get it. Also, because I could see myself in that journey, as you were saying, from president, VPE, area director, and I've still shied away from division director for now. But
next year is next year.
Next year is next year. And me and my big mouth, I'm putting it on blast here. I should learn how to keep certain things quiet. It's a very interesting world, this Toastmasters bit. And now this is just out of my own curiosity. You have a lot that you need to do, but you're also a career person. How are you managing to be all that you are doing in Toastmasters and still run the other side? How does it work?
Well, some days are easier than others, Busi. I am very fortunate that I have a very supportive husband, and my career I plan around my Toastmasters activities. I travel a lot. So when I speak with clients, I'll say to them, I can't see you in these 10 days or 2 weeks. I'll be away, but let's plan it before or plan it afterwards. So generally it's worked well. There's some things that I've put on pause that I normally do in my career. I used to run a group coaching program and I just paused that for now. I just said, I really want to enjoy what I'm doing and not be too stressed out and pulled in too many different directions. And then later on in the year, I'll reassess and maybe pick it up or postpone it until this year is over. So I really want to give it my all without burning out. A burnt out Toastmaster is no good to anyone. So I have to look after myself. I've got to look after my family and then make sure I honor the commitment I made in this role. But, it's give and take. But I've learned to really look after myself. So what I mean by that is be aware of when my energy levels are low. And I know what energizes me. For me, it's getting into nature, walking, running, hiking, just doing that. And sometimes it's stepping away from the screen and just having a break. But if I can look after myself, then I can carry on for longer. But if I neglect that, then the quality of what I do goes down. And it's not it's not the commitment I made to myself. My commitment to myself is to do it at a high level, and that's the same commitment I made to the organization. So I've got to set everything else up to support that.
Mhm.
I can't. You've got to fill your own tank before you've got something to give, and
That's
that's a life lesson that all of us have to learn.
so important. That's why on the flight, they'll tell you get your oxygen mask on first before you try and
Exactly.
help anyone else. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
principle. I'm sure there's a president out there. More importantly, I think a VPE who has just heard what you said and is busy thinking, I need to do that. I've taken on the role of VPE for my club, and oh my goodness, it is stretching me beyond what I thought. When I was charter president, I thought it was a hard decision, a hard call, but VPE, but here's what I'm enjoying about it: networking. When I'm
Exactly.
looking for role takers and talking to people, and the usual yes to requests is actually making my job a lot easier. I say that to say at every level of leadership, what you've just shared is important. Make sure that you are whole first so that you can be the best when you actually step up. We are taking notes. We are taking
And
notes.
Busi's another thing I want to add there. Every step that I've taken, I've thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to cope? You know, as you say, I've got family, I've got business, I've got, myself, all these things. And I've learned that you have to expand your capacity continuously.
Mm,
And when you were a club member, you thought you were busy. Then you took on a club officer role, and then you realized, okay, I've got to expand my capacity. You learn to do more. Then you become VPE, you've got to do more. Then you become president more, area director more. And what it's taught me is that we are capable of far more than we think we are. So be efficient and find ways to get things done quickly. Be decisive. Don't, leave. I used to be last minute queen. I've learned not to do that anymore. I know I need to get ahead of the tasks. So there's so many ways you can help yourself, but believe that you can expand your capacity because we've all got 24 hours in a day. That's it. That's never going to change. So how we approach it and how efficient we are when we do it, we can learn. And and you've got to enjoy it. There's no point doing it and not having fun. So that's a big part of it for me. My husband says, are you enjoying yourself? And if I say no, he'll say, you joined to have fun. If you're not having fun, change something. So make sure it's enjoyable and set yourself up to enjoy it.
Now, that quote right there, I'm going to clip it and I'm going to circulate it to each of my members and everybody who's talking to me about burnout and how hard this is getting. We are out to have fun while we are learning. What is that
Exactly.
quote by Ralph Smedley? It is
We
in,
learn best in times of enjoyment.
there you go. That's the one right there. And when
Mm.
we learn and hold on to those sort of anchors, it does help us. It
Mm.
helps us a lot to be able to keep going forward. And like you said, to expand our capacity.
Mm.
This is going to be a great year, Aletta. It's going to be
Mm.
so, so good. And I am excited for you. As we wind down, I would like to ask you at the end of this year, if you were now giving your final speech about how the year has gone, kind of like a table topic coming up right now, the year has now come to an end. You've had this amazing time. What is it that you would be saying to the Toastmasters or anyone who would be listening to how your journey has been?
Well, it would all be about them because my definition of a perfect year is that all our clubs and our districts have changed their mindset. Because before the last few years, everything's been tough after the pandemic, and we started expecting less from ourselves. But if they start changing their belief in what is possible, they would have been surprised at how well they've done, how many members they've attracted, how many new clubs they've built. And I would be congratulating them on the fact that they embraced a new possibility and acted as if it was possible and upped their game and delivered exceptional results, not for me, but for each one of them. And most importantly, for the new people they bring into our organization who now have this privilege of being transformed. So a good year would be getting more people, us growing, and more people coming into this amazing organization and having the experience that you and I and many, many others have had. And if we can do that, and it's a we, it's not a me, if we can do that, it would have been the most amazing year ever. And I believe it's possible. I really firmly believe that if we just expand our thinking and what's possible and then act as if it's possible, we can achieve results that before we thought were impossible. There's a quote that's often attributed to Nelson Mandela. I'm not sure that it was said by him, excuse me, but it always was. It always seems impossible until it's done. And this is our year. Another Nelson Mandela quote was, sometimes it falls on a generation to be great. You can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom. And that's my wish and desire for all of us, that we let our greatness blossom, that we become the generation that can turn it around and attract more people to have the transformation that we've had.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from Toast Talks with our international president. It always seems impossible until it is done. Coming from her, and this is what we're going to be riding with. It's not all about her, as she has said. We are the people who are putting our hands to the plow, and we are not going to draw back. This is that generation. And the song that you danced to at the inauguration, what was it again?
Mama Tembu's Wedding.
Mama Tembu's Wedding. Absolutely our kind of thing that's happening right now. So here we go. This wedding dance is going to happen right through this year, because indeed it's time for Africa and always time for Toastmasters and the world. International President Aletta, I am looking forward to this Toastmaster year more than many others that I've had. One, I'm getting to interview so many interesting guests. Two, you are a history maker. Whenever history will be spoken of, your name will come as the first international president from Africa. And that still gives me goosebumps. It really does. One of the best things about you representing the continent as the first is your warmth. If there is one thing that I am consistently saying about people of the continent, we are warm people. And you embody that and you represent it so well. And for that, allow me to say thank you.
Thank you, Busi. I'm a child of Africa, so it's all I know how to do. But thank you for the opportunity, and to all the listeners, I wish you an extraordinary year filled with wonderful possibilities.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And go out and shine. The wedding dance is ongoing.
Thank you.
Dear listeners, until we meet again on the next episode, stay tuned. Great guests are lined up. Philly was amazing, and I met more people, and I would love to bring them to you. And on that note, bye-bye. Thank you, Dithia Maleta.